What's up, everybody? So we're getting out there today. The water's still pretty cool, starting to warm up though. We're going to be fishing for crappie, bass, and some big old bluegill. So I'm going to be fishing this with three different poles, three different styles. First one, I'm using a medium light Lew's KVD 7'2" with a 2000 series KVD spinning reel, 5 2 to 1. And I'm going to be throwing it on some braid. I have 20-pound braid with a 10-pound monofilament leader. And what I'm using this with is I'm actually going to use a ZMan Ned. I'm using green pumpkin. And I'm hooking this up with a size 1 Gamakatsu EWG hook. Not 1/0, size 1. So a very small EWG. And I'm actually going to peg a lead bullet sinker onto that EWG hook. And the reason I'm using the lead bullet sinker is because where I'm fishing, there's a lot of brush, there's a lot of wood, there's a lot of, how should you say, just branches, stuff like that in the water. And when I use a typical Ned rig, I seem to get snagged a lot. So I want something that's weedless. I want something that's going to be able to pull over the wood, not get stuck. And I kind of use this as a hack. Typically, you see people throwing the Ned with a Ned rig, an exposed hook. They might even have a little weed guard, but you're still going to get caught. So I kind of modified this to my own preference, and it works very well for me. So that's what I'm going to be fishing with. You can catch crappie that way. I've caught crappie that way. This is primarily fishing for bass, but you will catch big crappie with this too. Second thing I'm using is I'm using a 6'11" St. Croix Panfish series rod with a Fluger Supreme reel, 5 2 to 1 spinning gear with the gear ratio, using 10-pound braid to a 4-pound monofilament leader. And what I'm using to fish that with is I'm using a 16th ounce, and what I'm using that rod for is a 16th ounce Beetle spin with a orange chartreuse tail crappie magnet Beetle spin. It's a little windy. It needs some flash. It's cloudy. The sun's peeking through the clouds. Still cold. I need to get the fish's attention. I need to get them to look at it and want it. And with that beetle spin, with it being such a light beetle spin, I can keep it close to the bottom and in this deeper water where these fish are staging up, getting ready to go into the spawn. The third thing I'm using is a St. Croix rod, 6'9", Shimano STRADIC reel, 1000 series, 10-pound braid to a 4-pound leader. And I'm actually using a 16th ounce Stinger Bombite jig with a ZMan Shad FryZ. And the Shad FryZ I'm using is an orange with a yellow bottom. Very the ZMan products, they just float, they don't sink, so it's going to help keep that jig naturally in the water buoyant. So it's going to look like a little bait fish. It's going to sink a little bit slower. You're going to be able to keep it above those weeds and stuff a little bit better. So I kind of like this combo. Lighter jig with I like this combo. The lighter jig with the buoyant soft plastic on there keeps that hook up and not going down into the weeds or into the brush or into the sticks. So I'm getting hung up a lot less. So I'm going to be explaining how I'm fishing these, where I'm fishing, what I'm looking at, and what I'm catching. I'm going to go in detail, show you exactly how I'm catching these fish at this time of year. So, all right, guys, let's get to the video. Let's go.
All right, so here we go, folks. When I got out there, I knew the spot I wanted to get to, but I always like to use my time wisely and troll on my way to the spot, just because it might tip you off where those fish are at. If you're going to a spot, why not troll? You have your bait in the water, you're going to increase your hookup percentage, or you're going to increase your chances of catching fish. So I have the 6'9" with the Fluger Supreme reel. Just toss the beetle spin out. Great trolling lure. And I'm just paddling on down to the spot, fighting that current. That beetle spin has got that spinner blade on there, drawing attention. And when I was going, I've seen my rod tip jump in, and I was like, man, Oh, he got off at the boat. That's depressing. That was a big bluegill. I should have netted him. What was I doing? I'm an idiot. So I finally got to my spot, and I picked up my Lew's medium light 7'2" rod, and I'm gonna be throwing around that Texas rigged little Ned. And this is such a unique way to use this bait because you know it's going to punch through the brush and it's also going to float. It's buoyant.
Very
And Ned is
strange.
made of that Elastec. It's going to float down there. So I'm just all ready to go ahead and use this bad boy. And, you know, it looks just like this. You know, I got snagged on something, but just like you would Texas rig a Senko, any sort of stick bait, craw, whatever. Do it the same way with the Elastec Ned. So I'm just tossing that guy out and I'm going to let it hit the bottom. Let it sink to the bottom. Let it sit there a second. Just kind of dead stick it. Let the fish, you know, not know that you're working that bait. So I got it down there, dead sticked. I let it sit for a second, jumped on my phone, and I realized my line was jumping. And sure enough, you know, before I knew it, I was hooked up. So I snagged this nice little bass, you know, nothing too healthy or crazy, but, you know, it was a nice little bass. Can't complain. So the trick is here is to work your bait really, really slow. These fish they're not ready to just go out there and just devour baits yet. They're still, you know, biting slow, you know, so you want to work your stuff slow. I'm just kind of bouncing across the bottom, wait until I feel that little thump. You know, that way I'm going to catch them. I'm working it real slow. And then when I feel that bite, when they finally decide to do it, this is what happens. A nice little basser. That's all he was, just a nice little bass. Just kind of tossing it out there, making sure that I'm maintaining that bottom contact, just bouncing it off of there. Got a nice little weight, letting it sink, letting it just bounce right off that bottom, no problem. Once again, nice little bass right there. Free spawn. Just getting them done with the little net rig.
You're gonna
But
have to get rid of
Texas
those
rig.
two things. Yeah.
So now it is time for the ZMan Shad Fry. Got it on the Shimano.
Oh, I got one.
ultralight rod, tossing it out, letting it skip across that bottom, and I get hooked up.
Another big bluegill. Honker bluegill. Are you gonna?
And that is what you call a tank bluegill. Look at that. That guy has been eaten.
He's doing the window? Oh my god, what an idiot. Whatever.
Guy hardly fits in the palm of my hand. He's just big old boy. Gonna eat up real nice. ZMan Shad Fry, y'all. But while I was out there, my GoPro died, but I did catch some other nice fish, like this nice little crappie guy here. I was able to pick him up with the Z-Man Shad Fries. And then I also, I ended up catching another tank bluegill. Not quite as big as the other one, but, I mean, this guy was a nice eater. Nice and healthy boy.
Crappie.
Alright guys, so as you can see, those baits worked very well for me. It was only out for a couple hours, a little chilly out, but I was able to get the job done. Now the trick is when you're fishing these things is you gotta fish them slow. With the Ned rig that I had Texas rigged with the bullet sinker, I was getting bit with it being just basically dead sticked on the ground. It was sitting on the ground, it was wobbling, bass picked it up. And then fishing with the crappie jig, I was getting bit in very high percentage places. That's where I was putting that light jig, places where you're gonna find bluegill, crappie, staged up, getting ready to spawn, do all that stuff in this cold water. So, but hey, if you learned something, go ahead and hit the subscribe. Hit that subscribe button right here, man. Come on. I'm always posting fishing content. I'm doing it on a weekly basis. I love to explain how I'm doing it. I want to help you guys catch more fish. I love this sport. I want everyone involved. Just don't show up to the places I fish at, and we're all good. No, I'm just kidding. If you showed up where I was fishing, I would greatly appreciate it. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys all have a great, spectacular, one of the best days you can ever have in your life today and the next day and going forward. So thank you guys. I will see you next time. Have a great day. Later.